دكتورنا افتتح.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. And we are happy and glad to have you here again, meeting face to face and some people online. Today we have a special guest with us, Sarah Dawood. He's our guest today, and he will be talking about a very important topic about HR auditing certification. And I'll leave the floor to Mr. Rai to introduce himself and start the session. Okay, thank you so much. If you find a problem in the communication and the voice, please let us know. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed Sami, North Star Consulting, for hosting us today.
Our pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
First, let me start with actually expressing my sincere thanks and gratitude to North Star Consulting and the Tanmia for giving me this opportunity to meet such you and readers that we have online, talking and discussing about a topic that is very important, not only for leaders, for people that are concerned with the internal audit, something, etc. This is a program that discussing in details how you can actually audit the charge in terms of all the areas that are related there, and some processes usually, as we say, govern employee behavior, and therefore we need to make sure that our HR function is performing well, can serve and prepare the people for the customer by ensuring that they are built on inside. Before we start, I would like to give you a brief introduction about myself as well. And this is not the first time with actually I worked with during the time from 2003 to 2009, but and I have a loud voice. Excuse my voice then if I raise it. I've been in this industry, let's say the human resources, for around 27 years, working in different companies in Jordan and Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and then back to Jordan. I work in a multinational companies, after reaching the position with the chairman, I started thinking of working on my own, where I started working consulting training after going through the learning curve of around 3-4 years, so that I can work with clients. I'm certified in HR audit. I did this program actually. Certified KPI, certified balance scorecard, certified OKR, certified EFQM, certified compensation and benefits, all the areas, let's say, of human resources, which give me the experience and the depth and knowledge in order for me to build and gather the information that's required to present such a program. We will start talking about HR audit. It is an assessment. It is a process that will enable you to assess whether the processes in the areas that are in the human resources department that are serving other departments, in the company, updated, fit. You don't have any gaps, you don't have any weaknesses, and while going through this program, you can discover whether such areas they are good, or they're performing good, or needs improvement, and so forth. The program the program in general that we will go through during this lecture is by going through the following stages. We will be talking about introduction to HR. This is the lecture. When we talk about the program, we will talk in depth about human resources because we have participants that don't work in human resources, like internal audits, management consultants. So we will be going through the human resources, how to conduct the human resources, the new HR standards where this program is built on, and the audit, what does it mean, the audit, and the audit key result areas, HR audit key result areas, HR audit processes, and HR audit steps, and the program methodology. So those are the stations that we will be going through during our lecture here in this chapter. Now, the introduction will let us talk about generalities to see how does a firm know if its HR department practices have an impact on the business results. First of all, we have to admit that the human resources function is the function that works across all functions. And therefore, while it's performing its work, definitely they will be in direct contact with legal regulations, with the government, let's say, relationship with stakeholders, whether they are inside the organization or outside the organization. The issue or the challenge that the HR department has is very crucial and vital, and therefore, if they are not prepared to give that service to their company, the company will fail. And one of the things that are very important for the human resources people actually is to take care of the organization culture, which is very important. The organization culture where people know how they should be acting with each other definitely should give a clear picture to the staff while they are moving and delivering their, let's say, responsibilities and tasks. And this would impact them heavily if they are not well prepared and HR function is not preparing the environment for them. So the we need to make sure this program that we are having an impact on business results, where preparing the internal environment is very important for the resources. And this we can make, let's say, we can make sure that it is going on by looking at our processes and procedures and update them continuously to prepare the work environment. Then the audit actually is very important on an annual basis, so especially the people. And most of the companies say that 60% of their costs are people. And therefore, this is one of the roles or challenges that HR people needs to look at, especially when we talk about recruiting, training, when we talk about performance management, when we talk about how the people interact with each other, everything is clear or not, and so forth. And then the starting point for organizations actually to manage human capital successfully is by preparing things so that they can get advantage. And when we talk about balance scorecards, for example, we say that our people are capable of doing or delivering the service that is required from them towards the company. I mean, when we talk about our people serving the customer, how far they are prepared for that and are not frustrated, so they don't affect badly or negatively the company image and so forth. These comes from the activities of the human resources department. Also, people are with this, and therefore the HR leaders should start looking not about adding value, but about creating value to their company. At the same time, the HR function needs to continually improve these standards. Now when we ask so many HR people in the public sector and the private sector at the same time, how many times did you update the job descriptions of staff? They say we don't update. How did you work with the strategy? We don't, because they're not to take. Now, definitely when you start talking about strategy and moving ahead to a new desire for the organization, you have tasks that goes out from the job description and new tasks comes in, and therefore it should be always updated because it's considered as an internal CV for people inside the organization. Therefore, you need to take care of such things other than compensation and benefits, other than performance management, facilities, etc. For example, we talk about compensation and benefits, and you see that so many companies have their compensation and benefits or salary structure static, does not move, and therefore this will create frustration to people when you start hiring new people after a while, and then you give them higher salaries for the people that we start protesting, saying, well, we've spent, for example, 5 or 7 years and we're still having the same range of salary. And this new man came here and he's getting more or less because it's steady. You have structure, you need to manage it, and you need to make maintenance for that. The other thing is HR risk management, which is actually where talent management and HR risk management are so close together. And when we talk about HR risk management, we're talking about developing people, we're talking about leadership, we're talking about new skills for the people so that they can come with the new developments in the market or new developments on how the way the work is done. The other thing is that the standards, with tangible and achievable standards comes the ability to measure. And therefore, this program gives you the methodology to measure what you are doing and to see whether it is updated or not. Dale Carnegie said, if you have an engaged employees, then they will perform 202%. And this is very important, that one of the skills actually that it's not only we talk a lot about, but it's one of the skills that have it in performance management so that you can engage people. If your people are not engaged, they don't know about what's going on in the company, then they will not be interested or pay attention to what the company needs. We found in several companies that the people, and recently actually finished training for one of the banks, and guess what? When we start talking about how to set objectives and how to put the KPIs for their objectives and put it as on a smart methodology, we took as an example their corporate objectives. And I started talking to them about their corporate objectives, and they said, we don't know about it. I was not talking about 2023 objectives as much as I was talking about 2022. And we are now in November, and they didn't know about the objectives of their bank for 2022. And therefore, look what happens when people don't know where their organization is going. And if we go to the basics about mission, vision, the objectives, strategy, etc., all other tools that would really makes, let's say, our position better than as it was. Definitely, people needs to be aware of that. This is one of the things that you look at when you go through the program. The other thing is that sometimes we don't have organizations that are dedicated as an HR team. And most of them, they put the title of human resources, but they don't have that skilled team there. And mostly they work as personnel people who are hiring, firing, who permanent attendance, all these issues, without looking in depth about the people. You're dealing with people, and the human factor is a changeable factor, and therefore you need to understand them well and start working accordingly. For example, in 2018, they've always said we are going from pleasing the boss into employee intimacy. It's not about, if we are so close to our employees means that we have favorism or something like that, as much as we are preparing this home for them so they can excel outside in the market. The other thing, okay, good. So the first thing that this program looks at when we talk about HR audit is talking about how we build strength through HR, about the HR standards. And HR standards, it's more into quality. It's like the European Foundation Quality Management Methodology, EFQM. It's more quality. The first step is to prepare. And when you prepare, or when you start going into this stage, prepare means that you have a strategic human resource management, where you have two strategies. I was discussing one of my colleagues about this. You have the strategy of human resources towards the corporate strategy of the organization itself, and you have the HR department strategy, where you need to start preparing your team so they can deliver the service that is requested or required from them in order to support the company. The other thing is that you need to take care of, to do the business, the HR business alignment, is the talent management and how you can take care of the people, of the talented people, so that you can invest in them and then they can be developed. And this is very important if you are talking about talent management. Definitely you need to talk about performance management. Definitely you need to talk about clear job descriptions. Definitely you need to talk about processes that are clear and people know where they are going and how to be facing or having any solutions for any event or incident that they face in their organization. And you need to take care of the human resources risk management, where you need to look at the skills, where you need to look at leadership, where you need to look at policy and procedures. Everything that might represent risk for you need to take care of it. And this is what this program provides. Once you prepare the people, as I said, two strategies. One of them, the corporate, because you are responsible of preparing the people in other functions to work according to what the strategy requires them, and your people to present the service. Now, those are the implementations where you start preparing and delivering the service. First of all, it's the human resources manpower planning, which is very important. You need to know the right number of people at the right time with the right skills, and therefore the HR plan is very important. One of the organizations once asked the chairman that they need 7 people in IT. When I discussed with the head of department the job descriptions of the required people, we reduced them down to 4. Sometimes you need to give the advice for the people and the follower. The things that are in this program actually is that you need to make like a survey to the other department heads and to check how they look at the HR function and how they appraise the HR function, in order for you also to have a third eye that will assist you in preparing the environment from inside. Now, this is the HR manpower planning, one of the things that are very important when you start implementing the HR services. Learning and development, of course, you need to have a training plan there. Performance management, so that you can measure the people and put the employees in the driver's seat, not just coming at the end of the year saying that you did well or you did not well, where the halo effect here comes in. So you have to have a structure, and that's why we're talking about with North Star something about presenting to people also the balance scorecard training, certified balance scorecard, and then certified KPI. So comes the strategy, objectives, and you put the objectives on the perspectives of balance scorecard, and then the focus on those objectives by the KPI and the initiatives that require you what to do in order for you to achieve your objectives. Definitely, performance management should be, or most of methodologies and HR literature says that rewards and recognition should be connected with the performance management, and you need to reward your people in order for them not to be frustrated because they perform and nobody is rewarding them. Employee wellness is very important, and this is something that we look at in terms of their physical safety and their psychological safety. I don't know how far companies, maybe international companies, look at the psychological contracts, where people know that they belong to the company because they are well respected. And this is one of the things that we actually look at: employee relations in the company and how their relationship is with their management and how the management and the people are interacting, and organization development, of course, that also focuses on developing people and systems. Those are the HR architecture that, or the services that you are implementing, are measured by the HR service delivery. And I said about the survey, and you need to start looking at the HR value and platform and HR technology by employing a human resource information system. If you have it, if you don't have it, then you can do it on Excel, whatever. But it's more important that you have a proper data in order for you to know where you are going. Sometimes a conflict arises between us and between the finance about how the employees are costing the company, how much. They say a figure, we say another figure, because they look at things as a sum amount money, but we look at it more detailed in order to provide for the management the data that they need to decide. If we talk about the HR audit program, it's exactly or somehow like the MIS or the IT department, how they provide information about the company. The same goes how they provide information about the people themselves. These things, if you need to be up to the standards and deliver an excellent service by creating a value, definitely you need to employ here for you and for your team the HR competences, where sometimes, as I said in the beginning of this lecture, usually processes govern employee behavior. The third thing is when you reviewing, of course, if I want to make sure that I am doing the right thing here and I don't have any non-conformities, let's say, then we have the HR measurement by HR. So these things you will be having in the program questions about those areas and other areas here and here. These areas, these questions, by answering them, as we will see in the coming slides, are actually measured if you are doing the right thing and your department is fit to purpose or not, by employing the HR audit and HR metrics. So then you know whether you are doing well or you need to make action plans in order to improve and overcome any non-conformities in the job that you are performing in your organization. Therefore, now those services are measured here by this program. This program enables you to measure whether you are doing well in those functions and those functions. You can. So, as you've seen, the HR standard model has three parts. The strategic level, which is the preparation, we're talking about strategy, risk management, talent management, aligning it with the corporate strategy of the organization. The second one is the services and how we implement these, how we implement our activities, and how far we are doing this in a better way. And then the last thing is the HR measurement level, which actually makes sure that we did well here and we did well here. It's a quality management approach by preparation, implementation, and improvement. So you prepare yourself, then you start implementing the services, and then for improvement, it is about the results that you will that will appear actually after performing the audit. As I said, needs to be given. So the first part of it about preparing, which is the business strategy, etc. At the top, business strategy, HR alignment, aligning strategy to the business strategy. Yani you have actually to go in alignment with the organization strategy so that you can support it well. The talent management, so you can be able having the suitable processes, policies, and procedures inside your organization to attract and discover actually the talented people, to hire them that they will make a difference in the company. HR risk management will give you a map of what problems that you have in terms of people learning and development. So whether it is about leadership, whether it's skills, whether it's about knowledge and so forth. So you can actually overcome this by encouraging the innovation and creativity, which meets the talent management here, and you can go for continuous learning. The second one is how we deliver the service that we have, and the service is functional, cross-functional. HR value gives this by auditing those areas. You will audit the workforce planning, and it's not the workforce planning. You will see it in the manual, having questions that will talk about workforce planning and what actually comes under the workforce planning when we talk about job descriptions, for example, when we talk about some certain policies and procedures and so forth. We look at learning and development. The people are having the learning, how you can choose the suitable training center, exactly like ISO and all these issues. We look at performance management and how we measure the performance of the people. We look at the rewards and recognition, employee wellness, and so forth. These, with part one and this part two, you are going through 485 different questions, so that you make sure that your function is fit to purpose. The third one is the metrics for the HR audit program itself, where you measure the impact of human resources on the organization. As far as your policies and procedures in place, everything's updated, definitely it will reflect on improving the service. And therefore, if it is not by the scores that you put, compared with the advisory board scores from SHRM, will let you ensure whether you're doing well or not. You're not doing well, and you need improvement, and so forth. So the HR metrics or HR audit will provide you with, once you are reviewing all the activities of the human resources department, to see where you stand, like the SWOT analysis, where you stand, so that if you have any gaps or non-conformities, then you have an action plan to improve that and go back to the situation that should be there. So how you can do that? It is an audit process. And the audit process here talks about diagnosing, which is information gathering, analysis, and then evaluating and assessing future lines, and then action with the framework HR. You will see now how the process goes in. It is a basic tool for management of the company, and at the same time, you can look at defining the future lines, what you need and you improve it. And any process actually, when you do it, when you design the process, definitely you need to let's say audit the process and its performance and its effect on the stakeholders, whether they are from the company, inside the company, or from the outside the company. People deal with the people. So therefore, as you see, HR department must perform two basic functions. It's like MIS for the management to provide the feedback, the quality of feedback, at the same time to control, evaluate the applied policies as well as established processes. Yani, they always say if it skips from HR, it's to court. So this program is designed to help assist the organizations to focus on HR practices, policies, procedures, processes, and outcomes by making a structured, systematic series of questions, as I said, 485 questions about key compliance, risk management, and internal audits. And as a process, it is designed to help organizations to identify potential and actual problem areas. So diamond, there is a process design, there is a process validation, and there is a process improvement. Process improvement affects the performance of the process itself, and therefore you need to start auditing those processes in order for you to see whether you have unvalued processes, for example, to take them out, or to put new processes in order to improve how the people are performing in the company and the HR department itself. So the HR audit is not only to identify potentials, but also look at the weaknesses in the HR internal control processes, assess the human capital strategies, and so forth, so that it gives you a clear picture. Any question to the point where okay. The HR audit, it's examining policies. HR audit is assessing by information gathering, evaluating and scoring, analyzing in terms of policies, etc., to see where they stand. The purpose of it is to reveal strengths and weaknesses of the organization. And we used to, before, with the ISO people used to come and audit the companies. And we used to start working on that, not to have non-performance, because they were looking at us as a watch. So now we're talking about risk mitigation. This is why when we talk about risk management, we look at this. The audit works best when the focus is on analyzing and improving the HR function. If there is anything that is happening in your HR function, this doesn't mean that it is exciting. It's more about critiquing how you perform as an HR function. Now, the levels that would talk about, or the benefits of HR and the levels of the organization and the HR department, is the first one is on the strategic level. The strategic level, the HR audit enables you to align HR objectives with the company objectives, identify HR contributions to the company, and provide specific variable data, etc., and make HR business a driven function, process-driven function. Now, organizations are talking about being a process-driven companies so that they can work in a clear atmosphere. Operational level, it clarifies roles and responsibilities of the HR department, stimulate the uniformity of HR practices within the organization, reduce human resources costs, and it's efficient and effective, improves HR efficiency and effectiveness, which actually here on the administrative level ensures compliance with legal regulations and standards, safety, so many things in this area. Provide specific data for current situation, but then review staff files, reports, and information. This is very important, and it furnishes actually so many data that are required, so you can know the more you are close to your staff and know about them, the more you can actually utilize unutilized skills, and then you can discover whether those people are talented people or not, and put the actions that needs to overcome any problems that you have. Review and improve the human resources information system. Of course, when we update the data, the processes, then we can improve the human resources information system. This is what the program provides. Now, let's talk about the categories of what. Okay, key result areas of performance most required for HR are defined by 11 categories, and those 11 categories are actually having 57 subcategory through 485 questions, evaluations, and analysis, so that you know where you stand. This is up to the slide. The HR strategic management. This is one of the categories. You have organization strategic plan, actually coming from if your department has the corporate strategic plan. If they don't have it, then you skip in the training, then you skip the organization and see whether you need an organization an HR strategic management or plan or not. Now, the first thing we start auditing it, the organization itself, whether it has, if it has the organization strategic planning or plan or not, and organization tactical. For example, we will see it in the coming slides. If you have an organization strategic plan here, you might give it number 9, highest number. But if we look at the HR department has a strategic plan that supports this plan, no, then this will reduce the marks that you have scored depending on the previous point and so forth. HR strategic planning, you have it. Okay, you don't have. Do you have an HR tactical planning that comes under the HR strategic planning and so forth? You look at the financials of the HR department, organization policies and procedures, succession planning, mergers and acquisitions to change management. This is only on the HR strategic management that is in part 1 in the HR standards model. The second one, we look at the workforce planning and selection, legal requirements. It's not easy to start the recruitment process without looking at the legal requirements and regulations of employment. You need to identify the requirements of your workforce. You need to start having recruitment procedures, whether it is in your company in-house, or outsource. You need, because we talked about the culture and we need to attract people that match our culture. We look at the internal recruiting if we have it from within, and we look at the external recruitment, interviewing, how we will do it, testing, selection, hiring, and how to onboard the people. This is only for this, questions on those areas for this category. This is the category, and those are the subcategories that are audited. Training and organization development, we look at legal and regulations and trends. We look at training needs identification, training procurement, how you procure training, training itself, development itself, and evaluating the training once the staff comes back. So also this is an area, and those are the questions here and the questions on the 6 points that comes under it. Total rewards, legal, regulatory and trends, benefits, base compensation and variable compensation, and retirement, we look at it. We look at employee labor relations, legal requirements, employee relations, employee opinion surveys, exit interviews, open door rules, etc. Also, we have questions on this area and the subcategories of this area. The same comes safety and security, laws and regulations, organization self-healthy and occupational health and safety. You have the metrics, the accidents, how many accidents. I look at this, for example, although all of them the same, you have KPIs for all these. And the results of auditing this would furnish a huge data for the management to make a decision. The HR, Human Information System and metrics, we look at the HR information system, the documentation for the people and their files, and we look at the performance report. The last three things, actually, diversity, of course, comes with laws and regulations, equal employment opportunity, affirmative action. But the advisory board said, instead of having only those categories to audit, let's add to them the HR facilities and the equipment. And we have questions about facilities, about equipment, and how far your equipments are utilized by your people, and whether they are costly or not to you. And you look at the supplies. Sometimes we have HR managers who are actually functioning as HR and admin, where they need to take or buy the consumables for the company, tissues, etc. tea. So these things supplies, you audit the suppliers and you audit the suppliers themselves by going into the HR facilities. And this is actually part of it. The facilities is connected with health and safety, so you make your environment as a safe environment. The HR organization, this is your department, how it is performing and what's going on inside it, and if you have any weaknesses there, to have the action plans in order to overcome what you have, and then the HR staff to prepare them and prepare their competence in order for them to deliver the service that they need. The risk assessment starts from leadership, as I said, people, your people, how their skills are. You make a skill audit on them. The human factor risk policy strategy, you make a risk policy to avoid it, and you see what partnerships that you have in terms of trainings, in terms of universities, in terms of so many and outside stakeholders also, to see whether they can actually provide you with the services that you are looking for. And this falls under the capabilities of the HR function itself. And then you look at the human factor risk management processes, what kind of processes we need to make sure that should be in place in order to provide the service. And this is very important topic about it, especially when we talk about developing leaders or developing people. And therefore, there should be in the budget from the beginning or the last quarter of the year towards the beginning of next year, what kind of training programs that we should have in place, because we went through the training needs assessment, and we see whether the risk, the human resources risk management gave us data about it and about these people, especially if you have the strategy in place, and the strategy either requires new skills for the people to learn, or new knowledge, or you need to look at the abilities and attitude in the organization and to fix them and put the required programs in order to overcome this obstacle. And then risk, you need to start risking the hand. If you have risks, let's say, how to handle them in order to achieve the outcome. So those are the input, and those are the output, the results. And by looking at the capabilities of your function and the people in your organization, you will reach into, in terms of risk management, I mean, the results, and the results, this needs to be solved in a way that provides innovation and learning for the whole organization. The HR governance, is anybody employing this in the company? مين بشركة listed بالبورصة؟ مش كمان انت بالبورصة مش هيك؟ هلا الشركات المساهمة العامة بسموها او الشركات the listed companies in the stock market, usually they have a corporate governance. يعني على اساس انه ان to protect الشيرهولدرز المساهمين. What is the role of human resources in terms of the corporate governance for the company? Starts from the business strategy, your human capital strategy, how will we secure, manage, and motivate the workforce in order for you to continue being profitable. The HR function itself, this is the HR for the company. And here the HR function strategy, how will we deliver as a team the value contribution to the organization, and this by taking care of the HR operational model or operating model by sourcing or insourcing or co-sourcing, what activities we will do ourselves that have or have others do. يعني إنه إحنا we have so many services actually that we outsource. فإحنا we work like also procurement officers when we buy medical insurance or transportation or recruitment or training, whatever. So you need to audit this area and see whether the suppliers that provide such services to you are up to your standards and cultures as an organization or not. We need to look at the infrastructure that we have in the HR department and in the departments that are affected by the HR department. Services like the processes, technology, people, and organization. The process, يعني, the importance of it is.
Right, this, the governance will be secured by the frame of policies and procedures along with the strategy.
You are coping with the strategy on the HR governance, so you support the corporate governance of the company.
Okay. And the HR function strategies?
HR function strategy on, yes, for the people in the organization. يعني on the human capital strategy or the human resources strategy, let's say, how will we secure, manage, and motivate workforce in general that can execute business strategy. يعني you need to prepare your people in order for them to carry out what is required from them as a business. On, you need to take care of your HR team so they can serve those people, then they can serve the business strategy. Okay? هلا هون the processes, يعني you have two things. You have the job description, which is a task, and you have the process, which is a whole. يعني for example, if we look at the sales people, the processes that you look at the customer and then comes back to improve your processes. Now the process here, for example, the sales people go and sell. They sell the product or the service of the company. Let's say whether it is a product or so, the person inside the sales department receives the order. Then he needs to communicate with other employee in other departments to continue. For example, the production. Then he needs to communicate with the customer. He needs to communicate with the delivery and so forth. So the process is a whole. It's not a task like the job description. And therefore, when you do those processes inside on micro and macro level for the company, as if you are actually connecting people together in order for them to start the service from A to Z as one team, reflected positively to the customer outside your organization. People, developing them, of course, and the organization itself, then the governance, how will we lead the function and manage the related. لأنه الcorporate governance بيحكي عن compensation and benefits، بيحكي عن recruitment، وبيحكي عن performance management and shares. يعني هو بدأ with Enron أنه they took bonuses more نزلت الشيء. فأنت the people that works here actually they are served here, and you make sure that they are doing their job well. Now, what is the auditing process? How we make sure that we are doing well? First is the information gathering, where this is you start collecting the answers about the areas that we talked, 11 areas and 57 sub areas. By seeing where you are, you need to be very frank with yourself to see whether you have it, the yes, or you don't have it, the no. And now we will see how. Then you, when you have those answers on the questions, you start evaluating them and putting your scores. And for example, if you say that we have a strategy plan, then the strategy plan takes, for example, 9. And then when you go down into the analysis, you will come back and see, no, it will not be 9, it might be 5 or 7 by the frequency of the questions that you have. So the evaluation is that as if you are converting the yes and no's in the first step that you gathered about your HR and giving it scores from 0 to 9 for each question, and then you gather the marks on those questions and you put the questions mark, and then once you gather them together, it will talk about the function, how is it, and if it needs fixing or not. Then once you, those are your numbers here, as I said, once you gathered your scoring, you start analyzing the numbers compared with the advisory board from Sharm, where you start comparing what you have evaluated to the ideal marks that are for each area. Once you reach or the result of combining those two stages or steps will evaluate your HR function and see if the HR function needs improvement or needs or any sub area even needs improvement. And we're not talking about, for example, manpower planning has a problem. Maybe part of the manpower planning needs to be improved or needs to be worked on, and this actually, or the results, becomes under the action plan, where you start putting initial planning and assigning people in order to overcome the problems that resulted, or the challenges that resulted from comparing evaluation scoring and analysis with advisory board marks. So the auditing process, as I said, we identified the 10 department process standards and guidelines, and yes or no. You see, you identify an irregularity compliance by the list of individuals to interview, and what you need to form an audit team, and you might sometimes you need to go in depth with the processes, and this might require that you should be having like an interview with the process owner in order to see how is it functioning in the department. Then you look at the methods, including the tools to perform the evaluation and make sure that your yes or no accurate, and you start developing the tools and methodology to test and verify controls. This is for the auditing. This is for the information gathering. The second one is evaluation. As I said, we had the yes and no, and whether it is there or it's not there, according to the questions. Now we will, after having those yes and no's, we need to convert them into marks. Our evaluation, not the advisory. You said yes. How or what is the mark that you will give it to this function, because it is available or it's function there, and this is how the example explains that. مثلا, the following information gathering process one question has been answered by yes. Does your organization have an identified department or function? unit accountable for HR activities? You said yes. This yes here, and you gave it as an evaluation 9. If it is no, you give it 1, and then the numbers will show your scoring, which is the second. Now, does your organization have an identified department or function unit accountable for HR activities? Yes or no? Yani, and you have a function, but it's not accountable for HR activities. But this reduces the mark. wait طبعا يعني هون انت حطيت yes and you give it 9. Now the second question يعني ايش اللي بصير؟ احنا we are going from the macro level down to the micro. انه مش انه we have this process معناته we get the highest mark, it's okay. Now we ask another question. هون we have an HR, we have a department responsible, let's say, for HR, but are they accountable for HR activities or not? يعني they're not functioning well. مش حيشتغلوا HR بشكل كامل. And this is how you start. Now, when you put X here on the yes, this means that it will reduce your mark. It will not be any more 9. The analysis is that when we gather for each category and subcategory all the marks, we put them as according to the sequence of them, the 11 marks, and see their marks there. Then we compare them with the advisory board evaluation, which is also on the training program, and you start actually analyzing whether your scores are right or not, and then you will go back and make sure if you have put the correct answer and mark on those questions or not. And then you start, every time you go for information gathering to see whether your yes is right or not, and you will go for also for analysis and for evaluation and see whether your marks are right or not. The fourth on, as I said, the marks that you gathered from all the categories that you have gathered information, evaluated, and scoring, it will be actually compared with the advisory board weighing for all of the categories, and then by subtracting what the advisory board with your marks says according to a certain level of mark, whether you are performing well, or you need improvement, or you need to fix this subcategory, for example, but not the category, and so forth, so that you can make the results for the action plan. Now, this process actually gives you, once you start comparing what the advisory board has and what you've done, let's say, the way you can start going back to your answers and make the necessary adjustments that you might skip or you didn't actually notice. So you, as if you are reviewing again what your marks and your yeses are, and are they representing the actual situation of your department, whether you have exaggerated, whether because of so many subcategories affected the whole mark and so forth. And it's like as if you are auditing your evaluation of your function. Yeah. The first step is yes or no. The second step is those yes or no, we give them marks. And then we make sure whether we did it right or not by the analysis, so that we can review it again and make sure that we're more accurate. Then we compare them with the advisory board as a benchmark, and make sure whether we're not jumping into results that are not actually normal. And sometimes we start looking at them and then we start putting high marks. These high marks might let us jump on what the advisory board are putting, and therefore our answers will be wrong, and therefore the analysis will make us review again our marks and our the information gathering and the evaluation that we give to ourselves in those categories.
Excuse me, Mr. Yandel. That's why I believe the person shouldn't be there for audit his own processes or strategy or whatever. So this is what I believe. When I'm gonna be an HR auditor, okay, I have to audit another organization's HR processes, not my own. Right?
This is one. You're right. Thank you for this question. Again, continue.
This is what, that's why the scoring for these processes, it should be at least fair. Okay, while when I'm auditing my own processes, definitely I will give it the highest score.
That's why the program says that the audit team should be from other functions. This is one, participating in it, so that, and that's why we have interviews going in depth so that we know exactly. And we have the survey for the department heads to contribute with us to appraise the HR function. Are they performing well or not? So we have two sources from outside auditing the HR department. It's not only in I audit myself or ما هذا عن So that's why it's more a team. That's why احنا صحيح انت هلا for you as an HR leader, you know what needs to be done in your function so that you make sure it fits to the purpose. And you need to learn how you build this HR function in a systematic way that if it is subject to audit, then non-conformities will not be there, and risk mitigation will be actually furnished because you have went through those things. That's why most of the people actually benefited from this. Additional to the HR leaders, the internal audits who audit the HR function. They usually audit vacation, the payroll, sick leaves, recruitment, etc. When they took this training, they said we used to audit the HR function with 4 pages. Now we're auditing the HR department with 60 pages report. No, 485. You go into every area in the human resources, not only for people and for those categories, but also even for their offices, for the facilities they are working in, for the equipments they are using and how far it is utilized also. And these things actually are in the job description when we talk about tools and equipments that employees usually use or work on once they are performing their job. The fourth process is the action plan. The action plan is the easiest, and the results we address it to people, and they start like the ISO non-conformities. Then we start putting the process owner, the team leader, and the people, and what processes we found that they needs to be fixed, and then what is the time that needs to be fixed so that they can be audited again in order to see that they have overcome all the things that they discovered during the auditing of the public functions. I would like actually كان حدا من الشباب بس يجيب لنا المانيوال هون. It's like those 4 processes with the information gathering, evaluation, scoring, analysis. As I said, there are 400 questions, something that's possibly slide, and it's for each area, which actually you have to go through like 200 or 260 pages answering the questions in the 4 stages. What makes you benefit out of this is if you need to enroll in this training, so that we can send you the manual. So we don't consume much time of going into each area and going into all the categories in the class. فبكون عندك an idea about what's going on فيها. أنا المشكلة هي موجودة باللابتوب موجود فيها بس الكونتنتس I can send them to Muhammad answer the contents of the manual. It's additional to the slides. All the idea about the questions that you need to go through to a safe point where you make sure that the document is fit to purpose.
To conduct this audit, it's a system or an Excel or
هلا احنا we are a systematic process. For example, in Dubai, they are asking us how can we work together to automate this.
Yeah.
To be automated.
So the reports you can get the benefits.
هاي تعطيك انت كل calculations so that you can reach into a result accurate computed well حتى توصلك للريزلت اللي بدك اياها. At the same time gives you actually the results. I will discuss this on Sunday with Dubai people so that we can see that احنا هذا البروجرام is an HRCI program certified HR Auditor from HRCI. With automation it would give additional value مع HRCI which is
we will discuss it on Sunday, the optimization for this program. Please also to discuss this optimization to be adapted or to be integrated with different ERP systems. Okay, so this is
هو ERP system. إجمالاً ERP system is one of the processes that are in the organization. مثلا كثير ناس بيغلطوا بحطوا ERP system بعدين بيجوا بيقولوا للكونسلتنج تبع الHR موجود انه let's make the processes that supports the ERP while the processes should be done and then we bring the ERP. هاي صار مع شركات هيك وصاروا بعدين يشوفوا انه المشاكل اللي عمل لهم اياها تبع الاي تي وين معلقه البروسيسز اون ذا جراوند. فاحنا طبعا اوف كورس لانه اتس بروسيس زي ما حكينا and if it is خلينا نقول automated معناته it should be familiar with the ERP system as a process. لانه الERP حكوا الشركات ما لها ما دخل في الERP لانه they look ما هو one the problem that انه they look انه على السيلز على البرودكشن على البروكيورمنت raw material وشو differences between بالضبط حكينا لهم هذا الحكي انه لا المفروض انه ينعمل البروسيسز on micro level and then we go. هلا هذا التريننج بيعمل لك البروسيسز وبخليك تتاكد if it is in place or not on the macro and micro level. It touches other departments as well as your department as an HR function. It's both. You can make sure that if you are doing well as an HR function, this means that your services for the whole organization is doing well. فيش عندك gaps where it will make people frustrated or they don't know what the company or they don't know what the job descriptions, ولا الكورس ولا البرفورمانس ولا التريننج ولا الريليشنز. So many things في حياة الموظف. أنت you are involved in the employee work life inside the company, which actually affects, if it is done well, positively the overall culture and performance system in the company itself.
يعطيك العافية دكتور.
الله يعافيك.
مشكور، يعطيك العافية على المحاضرة. نستأذن.
الله يبارك فيك.
How long is this training?
هلا احنا 4 days this training. ليش؟ لانه احنا we have so many questions. فاحنا first we talk about the human resources, we talk about the models of the human resources, we talk about the HR audit in itself, and then the HR audit in particular, HR governance, HR risk management, and then we go to the 4 processes, and we start tackling the questions under each category for under each step. يعني information for analysis to the action plan.
One question. These standards being developed under certain entity, or it's
No, regardless of industry.
I mean that these standards with like ISO standards or some standards, or
يعني it's more near لل EFQM.
can you are the one who developed these standards?
هلا الستاندردز were developed by Sharp. From New Zealand they contributed in that. يعني الريسيرش اللي والمعلومات اللي we've gathered actually is mostly from the US and from New Zealand حتى هم from India. They also make HR audit programs.
Can I contribute to this? So what happened, Dr. Rabi, exactly, is that was the body that under which it has been developed is the SHRM with input from other places. This is how Mr. Raed built up his program. And for North Star Management Consultancy, since we are the approved provider for HRCI in Kuwait, we submitted that program for their approval. Now, what is the concept or what is the logic behind this? The logic behind that Kuwait so far have never witnessed a program on HR audit. It is a new topic. Second part of the story that for us, the certified people, whether we are certified from SHRM or HRCI, our certification has 3 years in duration. When you pass the exam, whether it is SHRM CB, SHRM SCB, whether it is BHRI, SPHRI, after 3 years, that certification comes to an end, where you need to recertify either that you have to retake the exam once more, or you have to submit 60 credit hours of continuous education, that you have attended programs, that you have gone to workshops, that you have some books that you have read which are approved by HRCI. Now, back in the days in 2014, when I was BHRI certified, I did not find any program in Kuwait that can provide that free certification. So I had to travel to Egypt, to the Central Bank of Egypt, to get that kind of a certification to submit it to HRCI. Now, we have approved a few programs. We have approved the certified HR auditor. We have approved the certified band scorecard specialist. We have approved the professional in OKR, the objectives and key results, the KPIs. We approved also the talent acquisition specialist, the learning and development specialist, and the certified instructional designer who is able to prepare the training material. And hopefully, we are looking forward to approve the certified HR business partner soon enough.
Certified HR business partner. Another one, I was talking to Yasser. We are building now a new program, the certified strategist. It's not strategic planning, and it is about strategic planning, but it's more focusing on the person that will start working on the strategy. The essence of strategy is the strategist himself. يعني حدا starts working as a strategist. يكون عنده الكومبتنسي هاي انه he is a strategist. انه دائما upper management more go into strategic thinking. The management goes into strategic planning. بس الداتا هاي كلها مع البرفورمانس مع التولز for strategy to build a winning strategy. This is one of the parts that is led by the team leader for this or the project manager who is the strategist. بيقدر يكون لامم كل الديبارتمنتس حواليه and then they start producing strategy.
كمان by the head of OD. مش كده؟
كل حدا بيعطيك داتا. كل حدا بيعطيك داتا. هلا وين الداتا؟ اسمه هدول
دلوقتي هو الاستراتيجيك سيرتيفايد بيرسون مش احسن من احسن الناس اشتغلوا في الشركات الامريكيه طلوع هو بيبقى الاودي مش كده؟ هو اللي بيبقى
الاودي قصدك
الاودي
اورجانيزيشن ديفلوبمنت
هو I think يعني برضه الكودي maybe they contribute to the HR strategy بس ال HR manager هو المفروض مسؤول عن HR strategy.
يعني طبعا
هو شوف الاودي ما انتبهتش الاودي هي الاودي is a further step to يعني above HR لما it talks about developing people and systems بعدين من الانترفنشنز تبع الاودي دخلت التي كيو ام واللي تطورت هلا للاي اف كيو ام اللي هو European Foundation for Quality Management اللي بيعملوا فيها شو اسمه اتس اول يعني كلهم داخلين سوا مع بعض فانت you cannot actually work on a state of isolation على اساس انه كل حدا لحاله يعني it's more team work لذلك بتلاقوا انتم البالانس سكور كاردز كان حدا على فكره مثلا اوبجكتيفز عشان كنا لما كنا نحكي مع تقويم البنك مثلا انه الفاينانشال برسبكتيف هذول السي اف او شيء لا يا عمي انا عندي فاينانشال اوبجكتيفز مثلا to reduce the cost by مثلا taking care of the recruitment metrics وانزل التيرن اوفر اتسترا كل هاي الكوست على الشركه كنت اسالني انه اذا انت عندك فيكنسي بتشوفوها بالاسئله اذا عندك فيكنسي واجلتها وكان البوزيشن هذا بالسالري ستراكشر 1000 دينار اجلتها 3 اشهر how much money did you lose؟ كلهم يقولوا لي 3000 نو انت ما بتعين واحد ب 1000 مشان يجيب لك 1000 يعني بجوز مشان يجيب لك 3000 ففعليا انت خسرتك 9000 This is part of the HR risk. يعني قد ما حكيت بدي اكون مختصر هون بس it's not like when you look at the manual when you go through it as a whole بس احنا عشان الوقت يعني ما كناش نقدر نروح على ال 100 سلايد ندخل in depth. It's a whole lecture يعني as creating awareness. وفور further اعطوا الاسئله لمحمد كان
حد بيسال بيقول البرزنتيشن في شير مع السبسكريبشن.
Yes, sure.
خلاص يبقى البرزنتيشن will be shared مع people registered. Okay, any further questions? Go to Mr. محمد سامي إن شاء الله will answer more. Okay,
يعني اوكي ما في مشكله. شير
شكرا جزيلا.
So as usual, we thank Dr. Rabia for the creation of HR leaders, and we thank, of course, Mr. Raed for his contribution and for the great
Thank you.
presentation. We hope that you have enjoyed. Any questions that you want to address?
Thank you so much, Mr. Sami, for hosting us from today. Okay, our pleasure to have you with us. See you again, inshallah, next week.
And as usual, the group photo outside. And if you can have a small snack with us before leaving.